How are we doing, everybody, and welcome to Russell Heritage Golf. Today we're going to be talking about the elbow movement in the start of the downswing again, right? But I've got a slightly different twist on it in terms of the approach that you can start making a difference. A lot of golfers send in swings towards the channel. It's absolutely free for you guys to do it as well. Basically, the social media links are in the description below, and that's where golfers send their swings in, and I offer you free tips and advice. So if you want to take part in that, it's absolutely free to do so. A lot of golfers, as they send the swings in, will also give me a bit of a description about what it is they're trying to endeavour to do. And more often than not, I normally suggest that they go away and work on something first. But a lot of golfers are trying to work on this relationship of driving the right elbow at the start of the downswing. They're trying to create a shallowing motion of the club, continue to rotate, and then they can release the club later. Now, there are benefits to this, and I've discussed it in more detail in other videos on my channel. There are benefits to creating a shallowing motion at the start of the downswing, and the question is, how are you going to do it? Well, one of the things is the same sort of analogy as throwing a ball. You would consciously just try and drive the right elbow in front of the right hip. Now, when I say drive, it can drive to the side of your hip, it can drive in front of your hip. That doesn't matter, right? It doesn't really matter which way you go, but the important thing that you do is you try and get this elbow working a closer relationship towards your hip as soon as you start the downswing, because if you don't, the problem that you're going to find is that you might fall a little bit vulnerable of swinging too much over the top. Now, how do you do it then? Well, as you start the downswing, yes, you want to try and drive the elbow forward, but the focus point today is going to be very much on the right forearm. Now, basically, hence the reason why I've lifted my sleeve up. If I kind of get my palm facing upwards, this is kind of known as a supination motion, which basically means you can see more of the kind of, if you like, the side of my forearm is now more prominent in facing. Now, this is an important thing to understand, because basically what I'm going to try and get you guys to do is I want you to swing up to the top like you normally do. And as soon as you start the downswing, you're trying to get your right forearm pointing up towards the sky. And what I'm also going to get you to do is try and hold that relationship for as long as you can in towards the hit. Now, you start to do this even around the house, and what you'll start to feel is, oh my God, yeah, I can understand the driving of the right elbow, but isn't the club face going to be massively open? Well, what I talked about in a little bit more detail again a couple of videos back was the release, right? So the kind of squaring of the club face. And what I suggested was basically the way that you get the club face square is that my left forearm, so again looking now at my watch face, would be starting to rotate coming in towards the hit. So you can see the way my watch face is facing towards you. Now it's facing towards the target, and that's helping me get the club face square at the point of impact. Now, what we want to avoid is we don't want the right forearm working in this manner, because at no point in your golf swing do you want the shaft or the club head to overtake the hands till you're about a foot past impact, which basically means, you know, some golfers will look more this way in terms of they have more flexion, other golfers will look more this way, but the point is that the hands or the club head isn't overtaking the hands until you get to about a foot past impact. Now, coming back to our other point, the feeling is that basically you're going to swing up to the top and you're going to try and get your right forearm pointing up towards the sky. And then as you continue to come down, you're going to try and hold onto this release, obviously, as the feeling for as long as you possibly can. Now, as my right forearm is at this stage still upward facing, and again, the way that I'm going to square the club is I'm not going to release the right forearm. I'm just naturally going to allow the left forearm now to rotate over. So what you can see is at the point of impact, the way my right forearm is still facing towards you. So it hasn't kind of moved in this manner. Now, you know, some people always ask questions, shouldn't this be something that should happen naturally? Well, arguably, yes. I mean, the golf swing in its entirety should be completely natural. And I will stumble across some golfers who do many things naturally and they don't need a lot of guidance at all. But the complication you have is what happens if you naturally don't do these sort of movements. You have to understand how to introduce them to have more consistency. Because the benefits of getting the right elbow to drive in front of the right hip are huge. Huge for your stability over the club face, huge for your ability to hold onto the release for longer to help you create more power in your golf swing as well. And if you're a golfer who naturally moves more in this sort of manner or this sort of manner, then yes, it's healthy for you to try and understand this sort of feeling as long as you can hold on to it. So just to reiterate, you would kind of swing up to the top. So if I do it from face on now, and as soon as you start the downswing, you're trying to get your right forearm pointing more up towards the sky. As you come down in towards the hit, you're trying to keep your right forearm upward facing all the way until impact. Now, obviously, if I don't do anything with my left forearm, the club is then going to end up in this sort of position, which means the face would be too open. But as I allow my left forearm to rotate around, then you can see my watch face points more towards the target, and all of a sudden at impact, I start to look more like a tour professional, as opposed to being more this way or whatever way, this way. So it's important that you understand the right elbow functions in front or to the side of the right hip. It's important that you understand that what it's doing is it's having an effect on creating an element of shallowing in your golf swing, which also has huge benefits. But as you come in towards this hit, you've got to try and always feel that you're keeping the right forearm upward facing, but the way you're actually going to square the face is by allowing the left forearm to rotate over. And of course, if you concentrate on this forearm position and operating it more in this manner, you would find that the left forearm would naturally start to work to help you to get the face squarer. But what would happen is, instead of you looking maybe a little bit this way, like a lot of golfers do in exaggeration, you'd start to look more this way, and you'd start to look a hell of a lot more solid coming in towards impact. So, and that's it really, and that's what you've got to go away and work on. You know, you're just trying to work on keeping that right forearm pointing up towards the sky for as long as you can. You'll find that this movement will naturally help the right elbow drive in front of the right hip. And then as you hold it in towards impact, all you've got to do is just match up the release on that left wrist. You know, you might find, as I documented before, you might find that you're somebody who then starts to introduce an element of flexion in the left wrist. You might then find you're somebody who naturally allows the club to release and you operate with a flatter left wrist. That doesn't matter. That's just something that is a choice and something that you can choose to do in your game one way or another. But one of the things that's a common theme that we see with all the tour pros is that the right elbow is always kind of here to some degree at the point of impact. So it's either well in front of your right hip or it's operating to the side of your right hip. And the right forearm is always operating in this manner, never is it in this manner. So go away and have a little work on it. Keep that right forearm upward facing for as long as you can, coming in towards that transition and coming in towards impact. The thing that's going to help you square the face is the rotation of the left forearm, or if you like, the watch face, and it will start to give you much more stability. As I mentioned, it's absolutely free to do so, to send the swings into the channel. That's basically the description to my social media pages are in the description below. It's also free to press that subscribe button, press that little bell icon as well. You'll receive notifications every time a new video comes out, and I'll catch up with you soon.